You are now listening to the Serious Growth Podcast with your host, Leo Costa Jr.
Hey, listen, welcome to the Serious Growth Podcast. At times we tell the truth here. So, whatever we want to talk about will be fine. I really don't care. I'm interested in knowing more about you. I see here that you're retired military and law enforcement officer. Tell me a little bit how you got, kind of where your story is from the start.
From the start, huge troublemaker. I'm originally from North Dakota.
Okay.
Not a lot to do there for a young man other than to get in trouble, and I did a good job of that.
There you go.
And so anyway, I decided the military was a good way to grow up.
Yeah.
And so I went to Berlin during the Cold War, and that was my first duty assignment. Loved it there. Just absolutely had a blast as a military policeman.
Yeah.
And then picked up some weapon stuff and did a little covert work and had just a great little gig up. And then got out after Desert Storm in 91, middle of 91, and then went private with the Sheriff's Department, and then went to the state, retired out Department of Corrections as a captain in 2006, then went over to Iraq with the Department of Justice mission and became director of training for Iraq and Kurdistan, then went over to Afghanistan, trained the bodyguards for the Supreme Court up there for the Department of State. So
you lived quite a life, man.
I've had a fun run. Yeah, enjoyed it.
That's really cool. I like that story. Now were you in the Army?
I was in the Army, yes, sir.
Army, yeah. And you and I are similar. I mean, I haven't done anything military-wise, but I've traveled all over the world, and I know how cool that is when you, especially once you've done it. I think about it now, and I think, well, how lucky was I?
Right.
Fortunate to be able to experience all that because, as you know, I mean, you were pretty an extreme culture, but culture is really interesting, other than from where we're at here. My wife is from Holland, and, and I've spent a lot of time over in Europe and Eastern Europe and Russia. And
Sure.
I'll tell you what, I think every kid and every young man should experience that. Don't you?
Exactly. I mean, I when I see people even our age, and they've never been out of the U.S.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I mean, how do you appreciate? It's like having the same flavor of soda for every day for their whole life, and then thinking anything.
There's no reference. I mean, when I got over to especially Eastern Europe at that time, I was over there in the late 80s, early 90s. And oh my God, Gerald, it was like, I'm so spoiled as an American. I just can't even believe it. And
I remember going to East Berlin.
Yeah.
I remember going to East Berlin during the early and mid 80s.
Yeah.
And wall was still up, and just the difference between East and West Berlin was absolutely amazing.
I was so naive when I left to go to Bulgaria is where I first went,
Wow.
And I told my wife, I said, I'll call you when I get there. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. They had, I was in I think it was either Varna or Sofia. And you probably know what I'm going to say here. They said, well, we only have one phone and it's at the hotel over there. And I said, okay. And then I go to the hotel and they say, okay, we're going to connect you. Go over there and wait for about an hour and we'll let you know when to connect. I'm thinking, oh my God, what are we in prehistoric days over here? What? But it was brutal like that.
It was the same in the military. We had the Mars line. The Mars line, and that was cost about $100, and then at that time $100 was a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, especially for a young soldier making maybe 5 bills a month.
Right.
And you could talk for about 35-40 minutes for $100.
Right.
And that was cheap. I mean, comparatively speaking. Oh, but yeah, it was.
Boy, that was a eye-opening experience, along with being there with KGB, because again, I'm in a hotel and I'm dealing with the athletes at this point. And I'm talking freely, and they kept telling me, you can't do that here. Let's go over here and talk, type thing.
Nope.
Something else, huh?
Yeah, we used to play. I remember, and there's a lot of propaganda that we've dealt with, especially even growing up as kids. I mean, being in our 50s and 60s, we remember the big Russian bear. You know, they were just. You remember the Dolph Lundgren character. You know,
yeah.
that's what we grew up envisioning. I mean, everything
Yeah.
that was evil was represented by that sickle and hammer.
Exactly.
And I remember going from Frankfurt to Berlin on the duty train and seeing this kid, you know, and he was a soldier, but I mean, he had the whole long coat and then
Yeah.
the little fur hat and the little
Yeah.
AK, and he was just shivering. He
Yeah.
was just shivering, and I looked at him and I was like, "This isn't Dolph Lundgren. I mean,
Yeah.
this is maybe 125 or pound kid, you know that." And it was just at that point, it was a lot of eye opening
Yeah.
of how much we're fed and how much is actual true and fact, and how much
Yeah.
and we just aren't to believe everything we hear and see. And
But it seems to me now, maybe it's because of my age, because I'm older than you. How old are you?
55.
Yeah, I'm 65. And it seems like anymore, Gerald, I don't believe anything. I mean, it's just, I don't know what the hell I'm seeing anymore.
Absolutely.
It's gotten really weird.
It's so, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it
Just
is.
how much BS is being thrown on both sides of the wall. And it's just
Yeah.
like, everybody's just figuring you throw enough crap onto the wall and something's eventually going to stick.
Eventually, yeah.
And it's just what's sticking is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
So tell me again when you retired out from the sheriff's department.
I moved into the state in 1998, and then
Mhm.
from 98 to 06, I retired out of the Department of Corrections in North Dakota as a captain, and
Mhm.
then went over to then Iraq in 06 and stayed there till 09, and then went 2010 to 12 in Afghanistan. And
Okay.
so now I own Magnum Source, which is a distribution company.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to talk about that. Before we talk about that, one
Yeah.
more question, and I'll move on from the
Sure.
from your law enforcement days. If you're a police officer now in today's environment, no way, right? I wouldn't either, man. Shit.
All of my old brothers. In fact, I just moved from Illinois, and I met some just absolutely wonderful people. Just wonderful people. A lot of former and current Leos that, both, you know, on all spectrums of their career base. Some are on the twilights of it, and we all say
No
there was
way.
no way if we had to start over again that we would play this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember it was just all about, oh my gosh, people would bring their kids to you, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just so much respect
Yeah.
and brotherhood and
You know, one
yeah.
thing, and again, you and I are probably just a little more old school, you know, some old values. But I'm going to tell you something. The respect is has totally gone out the window, and it's
Oh, it's totally.
brutal. I just
It's
can't believe what
you
I'm
know,
seeing.
and unfortunately, you know, it's always been kind of a very thin line of respect and fear.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes, as you know, as a young man, you need to get a little backhand from pop
Exactly.
to start walking correctly again. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, that's a fine line.
It is.
Well, now it's no line.
No line.
You know, there's no fear. There's no nothing. I mean, it's they can say and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you know, these parents they don't know what they're raising. You know,
Yeah.
you know, they got a 30-year-old kid in the basement. You know, are you
Yeah.
freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. And you know something, when the criminals have more rights than the other side,
Oh,
I'm
my
sorry.
gosh.
That just that's stomping all over my boundaries.
Right now in Illinois, a police officer can be terminated from anonymous complaints and never get the right to actually address them at all.
Yeah, that's bull.
That was the latest. I mean, literally 2 days before I left there, one of my cop friends, who's a great guy, he's been the chief of police over in Indiana, so he's no rookie by anybody mean.
Yeah.
And he read through the whole piece on his phone, and I was just like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like.
All right, let's take a quick break so I can tell you about our product.
Do you want a bone-crushing grip? Good, because you're gonna get one with the amazing new TRS gripper. It's a progressive grip builder with longer handles and a special ergonomic design that's like a dozen hand grippers in one. Start off easy and work your way up to quickly build your grip strength from wet noodle to pulverizing. The package includes a video from the world-famous strength coach, Dr. Russ Horine, the man who worked with Leo Costa to help bring you big beyond belief in the Bulgarian Power Burst. Dr. Horine shows you a simple and easy to follow workout plan that takes just minutes a day right from in front of your TV set if you want. So click on the link below and let's get started building you a stronger, firmer, bone-crushing grip.
Yeah, quite frankly, it's scary. I worry because, for my kids and my grandkids, really. I mean, I don't know how much this is really going to impact me, other than I'm just I feel like sometimes I'm in a damn dream, and I don't even know. I can't even believe that I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I keep telling my kids, I said, I don't know if it's going to do any good, but you guys better stand up and raise a lot of hell about this. Otherwise it's going to get real ugly, I think.
And that, you're right. It's going to get worse before it's going to get better, because I think right now, I think a lot of this, I don't know. I don't even know how to even, everybody's just
it's
too soft.
Yeah,
They're too soft.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, everybody's getting their little participation ribbons, and you've got guys pretending to be women, wrestling women and playing women's sports, and it's just like, when do you say enough?
Yeah, exactly.
When are you just going to draw the line and say, listen, we need to get a little common sense back into
there
this.
You go, common sense.
And I wish it was common.
Yeah.
I truly,
I know. Anyway, okay, so we'll move on from here. I was just kind of curious when I saw you were a police officer, especially. I thought, I'm going to ask that question. I'm real curious about that. 'Cause I wonder if it's just me. Anyway, so listen, you're out of the military, and I know you have this supplement, like pharmaceutical grade supplements. Now, are you a distributor of that, or so you distribute for them?
I distribute, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Now
I hadn't found any supplements that I had taken. I mean, for 16 years. I mean, I started educating myself on the supplements, and what I found was pretty appalling. I mean, it was not much good out there. And actually, I was introduced to this line when I was overseas.
Okay.
And a friend of mine had met Marcus Callius, the owner of Magnum Nutraceuticals out of Canada. He met him at the Olympia, and they began talking, and he actually tried one of their products, and it worked, which was, I mean, what the heck? I mean, how weird is that, And he started sending me them, and I was sold. Once I read truly what was into this and the integrity that was into this line, it was like something I could finally use. And when I got out of Afghanistan, I'd met my wife that I hadn't seen in 30 years. We went to high school together, and we decided we were going to get married. So my next gig in Afghanistan was called off. I needed something to do. So I started a distribution business. I called Marcus. I said, do you mind if I use Magnum and Frontier line up here in the US? And he gave me the nod, and here I am.
Beautiful. I want to ask you, and you're right about the supplements. Most supplements don't live up to their hype. Very few do. And then every once in a while you run across something that really does work. So I totally understand what you're saying. But why don't you give our audience an idea about, I really appreciate that you found something that works, but tell us why you think, what makes it unique, compared to everything else that's on the market, because we're all saying sometimes, a lot of people are saying this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but is it really? So I'm really curious to know what makes this product unique.
There's quite a few in the entire spectrum. When I'm dealing with quality, there's a lot of different levels that I use to rate. First of all, in the United States, the FDA deals with two items in the supplement world. First of all, the containers. That's the number one thing. Secondly, it's where they're packaged. What goes inside there? That's buyer beware. There's the FDA does nothing what goes inside there. This is, first of all, the main thing that is different between Magnum Nutraceuticals, which is it is created up in Canada. The second thing is every ingredient undergoes 3 microbiology tests for any kind of cross-contamination, and it has to claim out at least 99% pure. On top of it, food grade, feed grade, the differences. It's not just a percentage of quality. There's many things that can and can't be done in one that can be done in the other. Like, let's say food grade. If you're getting a BCA that's food grade and it's not fermented, it's probably made out of hair and feathers. Yum.
Yummy.
And that is okay with the FDA.
Yeah.
I mean, things like this, your binders, your fillers. I mean, when you have 30 to 70% of your tub of filler, when you're pharmaceutical grade, you are not allowed fillers.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So when you're buying a protein, you know, I always show, I grab our Quattro, which is a 4-stage, it's actually 4 isolates. I'll put 4 ounces of water in the bottom of my shaker cup. I'll put a full 30-gram scoop and I'll swirl it 3 times, shake it 3-4 times. I'll put it in the fridge for 3 weeks and it still won't be separated.
Is that right?
It is absolutely, I get people come to me all the time. I have gastric issues. I'm allergic to this. No, you're really not. You're probably just allergic to all the fillers and all the low grade garbage that's in this stuff. And I give them mine and try it. If you like it, great. If you don't, you're out nothing.
Yeah.
And it is. It's the world's. We're in like 62 countries right now. I mean.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. And again, I know, a lot of times you don't get what you pay for, but many times you do.
Sure.
So with that being said, as far as price is concerned, what is the real difference just at a price point? Because we know that if you have a product that's got less fillers, obviously you got to charge more for that product, or you should, because that's why you put fillers in there to begin with, right?
People just get greedy.
Okay, yeah.
It's okay to make money. There's nothing wrong with making money.
Yeah.
But when you're taking a $2 product and selling it for $30,
right,
it's ridiculous.
That's greedy. Okay.
That's just plain greedy. Which, if you were to look at our 2-pound tubs of protein, which MAP pricing is right around $40, well, you're getting garbage grade stuff that's costing more than that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very fair price.
Very fair price.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is the whole thing. People are thinking, as soon as I start my spiel about how great, and how better everything is, and how it's all tested out, and how all this stuff is there, and the integrity in the company, and on, they go, oh yeah, okay, what's your price points?
Yeah.
And then when I tell them, I'm going like, well, that's cheaper than what I'm paying now.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yeah, well, see, when you have a company that is more, I guess, bought into quality, and this is why they won't come down to the US and manufacture.
Okay.
Because other Canadian companies have, and they've succumbed to the, hey, big brother ain't looking over my shoulder. I don't need all the quality now.
Yeah.
And then they start this, and Marcus, I actually brought it up to him one day. I said, why don't you start down here? It'd be great, because then we wouldn't have to wait for deliveries. Sometimes they get held up on the border.
Right.
He looked at me and he goes, that'll never happen. He says, that'll never happen. Not that he would ever succumb to it, but there'd even be the perception of it being able to happen.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want that affiliated with his company. So.
Yeah. So obviously they don't have any problems. I know, like my wife, this goes way back. I wanted to make her a distributor over, and at the time she's Dutch, but she was living in Germany at the time.
Oh.
And because they're so strict with their supplement lines, I mean, it was very difficult for her to be able to do that, and it was hard getting product back and forth. Is there any kind of issue with that, with the product that you're talking about, getting in?
They're in 62 countries now.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the other company lines, and no one even comes close to that. I mean, if it wasn't really, because as you know, this company is pretty lax, or I mean, this country is pretty lax bringing things in.
Yeah.
You go to Germany, you go to these others, and boy, they hold your finger to it. I mean, you got to have everything there. And this company has no problem going through international boundaries at all with it.
Because I was going to say, supply and demand, if you're having issues with that chain, where sometimes you can get the product and sometimes you can't, obviously that would be an issue, but
absolutely.
that doesn't seem to be a problem.
They opened up a couple of warehouses down here, and so they ship everything to the warehouses. So the U.S. Line it's much better than it was, when they first started going to the U.S. Where they had to ship it all, and as you know, customs can hold up a trailer pretty easy, and that's not an issue at all anymore.
Back when I first came back from Bulgaria, back in those late or early 90s, you heard of Tribistan by chance?
No.
Yeah, Tribistan was it's a product that was used by basically it's an herb. It's a sticker that was discovered this is a story, by the way. It was discovered in Bulgaria, and how they found out that this had some use for the powerlifting or the Olympic lifting industry. Was they noticed that in that field that they had the pasture, it was divided by a fence. On one side of the whatever was grazing out there, animals were bigger than the other side. So they tested the pasture they were in. They found this sticker, and it was called Tribistan. And the athletes at that time in Bulgaria, they used that as a bridge when they came off their steroid cycles. So it was legit. I mean, we had to test here. I brought the first Tribistan to the U.S. Back in those.
Really?
And the reason why I'm telling you the story is because I started ordering more and more because I'm in the business. I've been writing training courses since the late 80s, so I sold that. Well, hell, when I started getting my shipments up to where it was like $10,000 coming to customs, bam, that was it. They shut us down, because they didn't know what it was. No. Because it wasn't in any of the manuals and stuff like that. But the stuff was legit, man. And they have knockoffs now. They have still Tribistan. They call it Tribulus terrestris. Yeah. But it's not the real deal because I've tried it since then, But no, anyway, I guess the reason why I'm selling that because it got hung up at customs, and it was too much hassle to even sell it because we couldn't keep people supplied.
Right. I suppose something that was that effective too, that, they had no control over it.
Right.
So, and it's like, well, there you go.
And we didn't get our money back.
That's not surprising. That's not surprising at all. Yeah, and it's probably still sitting, gathering dust somewhere.
Yeah. So we kept but maybe we should let's just buy $6,000 worth. But 10,000 was like the magic number, I guess.
That was the number where you got their attention.
In your product line, is there anything that stands out as far as what your preference is in the supplements that you take?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's called our primer pack. You remember the old animal packs back in the day? Yep. You had these horse pills that were they're monsters. Yeah. I mean, you had to chew them because there's no way you could gut these things.
Yeah.
It's all your vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and omega-3, 6s, and 9s in one pack. It's absolutely, like I said, everything's in a capsule, and everything is right there. And on the back, all the capsules are different colors. So on the back, it gives you a full list of what's in each capsule. Because like when I was prepping for a show, and I'm down on my last week, and you're trying to dry out and all this, of course, then, the purple one has a hydration quality in there, so you want to drop that one off. And so you could actually do that, and you could customize your pack to what your need was.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's absolutely people find that without the fillers and without the binders of tablets and actually going with capsules like this, they just are dumbfounded. They're going, there's no way that's all this is. I mean, they just feel so much better just by enhancing. To me, it's just about, well, at our age, I mean, let's get serious. We don't need to get the thing with the most caffeine. We don't need that. We want what works and what's going to keep us healthy and keep us rolling, and quality over anything else. So.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed with the supplements was that the RDA always had a recommendation as to how much to take. And I called it taking the bodybuilding dosage, because here was my thought on this. The part of the reason why the RDA had it as such was to make the product more, make it more to where you could purchase it on a regular basis, because if you took enough that gave you the bodybuilding result, you had to take about double almost.
Sure.
From my experiences.
Right.
And so with your product, the dosage, I mean, is it something that's sort of, is it a broad stroke as far as what they recommend, or do they recommend you take a little bit more if you're bodybuilder training?
Well, there's a whole liability issue too when you start doubling and tripling up.
Yeah.
I mean, there it is. So the double packs, definitely during training pieces, especially getting ready for bulk phasing and getting ready. Absolutely, that's goes without saying.
Okay.
But for the normal Joe, one pack put in their lunch pail and having at work or whatever is more than ample.
Yeah.
More than ample.
Because
but it's also kind of nice being able to get that fish oil too. That's pharmaceutical grade.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is impossible to find pharmaceutical grade, and it don't give you those burps. I'm sure you've had them.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll ruin an afternoon in a hurry.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And in fact, the pharmaceutical grade stuff around here, I think you have, isn't it like a prescription? There's one that I see on TV, but I think you have to have a script for it, right?
I only use this. This has been my mainstay for the last 7 years.
Okay.
I mean, this is really it's part of my favorite. Every client, every friend that says, what should keep things simple. You don't need to spend $800 a month on supplements. Let's just get you healthy. Food, more food. Let's get your meals going.
Well, I tell people a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it too, because bodybuilders, and I'm going to put us all in that class, we have a tendency of having extreme behavior issues. At least I do. And, if this is good, then more's got to be better. And it's not always that way, but it's the mindset, I think, of sometimes athletes, because we want just a little more production, a little more performance.
But, yes, but I do find as you're dealing more with older athletes that they start to, I guess, reflect on how many times more wasn't better.
Right.
And they start actually reverting back. How little can I do and still get the benefits?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So
if we start training our younger crews into that mentality, and then all of a sudden, now their longevity is going to be there.
Right.
I mean, you get someone who was the extreme of that, like a Ronnie.
Yeah.
What a wonderful champion.
Yeah, but he's a bad shape now.
But he is a bionic man right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and I see him whenever I go to the shows, and he's doing fantastic. As of last year, he was finally out of a lot of his pain, but that's what happens when you're extreme.
I was shocked when I saw him. I did a video with him and 4 other guys. The video at that time was called Backstage Secrets of Bodybuilders and Their Drug Use. And our thought was, where all the at that time where all the abuse was that actually at the not at the pro level but the amateur level. They were taking way too much. So when we talked with Ronnie and somebody's got Lee Priest was on, Ronnie was on, Aaron Baker, I had 5 guys on. They were all top players at the time, and surprisingly they actually took much less than the guys that were amateurs. I
know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it was crazy.
The thing that people will never understand, they just don't. I go on forums on Facebook, I do this stuff, and everybody talks about, gear this and gear that and plow more gear, and it's like, you'll never understand. First of all, these guys know food.
Yep. They
know food, and I don't care how much gear you take. It doesn't matter. If you don't have genetics, you're going to look like a troll.
Yeah. And
if you don't,
and you got to do the work, basically what you're saying, you got to do the work, and so many of them rely on
these,
so I
these people are talking about overtraining, and I'm like, I watched you train. There's no way you can overtrain.
Right. Yeah. You're talking too much and you're laughing too much in the gym. You're not overtraining. You're overdoing everything else, but not.
And I'm there already. I mean, at 55, I go to the gym every day. I do my lifts. 40 minutes, I'm in and out.
Yeah.
And during that 40 minutes, I try to help at least 1 or 2 people out with form or just to give them a little bit of an attaboy, and all that goes great. And then people go, well, how many days a week do you lift? I said, I try to get there at least 7.
Yeah.
And 5 of my days are doubles because
Yeah.
I get to go twice a day because my wife likes to go in the evening.
Yeah.
What a great way to go twice a day.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're not worried about overtraining? What I would have to do to overtrain,
Right.
it's not going to be accomplished at my age. Sorry.
Well, and one of the things I learned from Bulgarians is, they trained their athletes. Of course, they're in Olympic lifting and they do 1-rep maxes. They were way ahead of their time. And maybe you saw some of the stuff that I've written. I don't know if you have, but one of the things they talked about was it's virtually impossible to overtrain if you stay between 30 to 45 minutes. It's virtually impossible to train your physiology. And yet at that time when I was there, I was that guy that was in the gym hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, And I thought when they told me 30 to 45 minutes, I said, even bodybuilders? They said, yeah. And, so I trusted them, and I changed at that point when I came back from Bulgaria, I changed the way I started training. And here's what was surprising. And it kind of goes to what you were talking about with some of these guys that are in the gym thinking they're overtraining, an hour and a half or 2 hours. What I realized is that I was resting too long and I was talking too much. And when I put it took me a while. They taught me that warming up was a waste of time, which is astonishing. But they said, look, if you've been warming up before you do your working sets, we don't suggest that you just go right to your working set. It's a transition over 3 or 4 weeks. And here's what happened. I stopped warming up. I got hurt less because I was teaching my body that I had to warm up before I did the working set. I got hurt less. I was more productive, and I got just about the same amount of work done in 30 to 45 minutes as I did an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Isn't that crazy how that works?
Yeah, it really is. So the quality.
All you have to do is listen. All you have to do is just listen.
Yeah.
But you see most of these people, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I'm just like,
yeah,
really?
Exactly. It was real interesting. A real good lesson to learn, So I know what you mean about people that are in the gym today. It makes me sick actually to watch some of them work out. It does. It irritates the hell out of me.
I have a shirt I wore. In fact, I wore it day before yesterday. It says less texts, more. Well, in our day, you didn't have to worry about bringing a phone.
Yeah, true.
What are you gonna have, a rotary dial next to it?
Exactly. Or when I even like the mobile that I carried around, it was like a suitcase,
Oh my gosh, I had one of those with the bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that to the gym. Crazy.
That's funny.
I know the atmosphere in the gym is just much different than it was years ago. And I tell you what, being in the personal training business, I've been in for 38 years, and I've trained a lot of kids, a lot of youngsters over the years. Because the other thing that I learned in Bulgaria was that they taught me how to train prepubescent athletes. And Beautiful. It was actually good for them,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of kids come through, and I've trained a lot of them. And I got to tell you something, Gerald. The kids that are coming through now, we talked about earlier in the show, they're soft, they're sissies. They can't handle anything. They're coddled too much. I feel like kicking them right in the ass. It's pretty pathetic that what I see in the atmosphere in the gyms now.
Do you remember back in the day, when we were young and we were going to these gyms, and you had these older guys there, and they had those big high school and college rings, those big old monsters.
Yeah.
And if you didn't put your weights away, or you slammed them, or you did something, they'd turn that thing upside down, they poof right alongside your head.
There we go.
You learn to put your weights away.
Exactly. Do you know who Vince Gironda is?
Absolutely. There's the grandfather of everything right there.
Yeah, Vince and I were close, and it was hard to get close to that guy because he was the meanest guy I've ever known.
I've heard that.
He was cantankerous is more the word. He was Vince actually had a good heart, but you never saw it. And he was just, I tell you what, he would see, he didn't believe in doing cardio. He didn't believe in music in the gym. It was just the clanging of weights. And I saw him throw people out. Quick story on Vince. A gal came in and she was sitting down, putting her shoes on in his gym, and she was putting her headphones on. And Vince he sat behind like a desk area, a divider there that divided him from the people that were out in his gym. And he saw this girl listening to headphones, and he walked up to her and he pulled her headphones. I watched him do this. I was there. He pulled her headphones out and he said, if you want to listen to that goddamn music, go down the street. I don't want you in here. That's the way Vince was. He was brutally harsh. I got Vince's, he tortured me one day when I was in his gym because I wanted to do some shoulder presses. So I moved the bench, the wooden bench that he had there, because he had like a prehistoric gym, low ceiling, wooden benches. Okay, it was something to see. And I took the bench and I moved the bench over to the 100-pound dumbbell to do some weight or whatever I was doing. And he yelled from behind his cage. He says, if you can't lift that much weight, then don't lift the weight. Don't bring the bench to the weight, bring the weight to the gym. I mean, bring the weight to the weight rack there. And I said, okay. I mean, that's how Vince was. He was stern, man. And, but I got to tell you something, Vince, I tried to do a video with him. And I just couldn't do it. He was so damn hard to work with, Gerald. I mean, it was amazing. That would have been a great video if we could have shot it. But yeah, Vince was just like that. But he was, I learned a lot from Vince because, Vince was about not lifting more weight, but training different angles to the muscle. That's what I learned from Vince. He was a real smart guy, but just too hard to work with. Henri. I called him one day. One more story. I called him one day and I said, hey, Vince, how you doing? I called him. He was down in Studio City. This is Vince. Hey, Vince, how you doing? Well, you don't give a damn how I'm doing. Just get to your point. That's Vince. But I loved him. He's a good guy.
There's another Vince I met in Berlin, actually, Vince Taylor. I'm sure you remember Vince. Yeah, I mean, he looks, at 62, the guy's he's still a rock star. But anyway, he was the first one to ever ask me to spot him benching 500 pounds. And I'm like, I'm 140, maybe dripping wet, and I'm like, I'm not even deadlifting 500 pounds, brother. I don't know what you want me to do. He said, just stand there, And so anyway, that was right after he won Mr. Berlin. And so he has a product out called VT grips, Vince Taylor grips. And we were chatting one day, and I got to get these things, it's Vince, I gotta, they work. What he has is he has multiple balls and they're hooked to, so you don't have to grip anything. So you're taking everything out of your forearms and you're able to actually hit the muscle you're trying to hit. Yeah. But he does these ones for biceps. And I know you remember Vince Taylor's biceps. I mean, they're just very nice. Yeah. And the ball goes through your finger here. And then you do a bunch of sets, then you switch it to the middle finger and then over to this, and it keeps hitting it at different angles.
Darn.
And as you were saying, it's all about hitting at different angles.
Yeah.
My first time I'm using these, I'm using like 15 pounds. And he warned me. He says, there's no ego lifting with these things. Yeah. He says, if you're used to doing 45, 50-pound dumbbells, it's not happening anymore. Right. And holy smokes, my back, my bicep, everything that I was working with these things. Yeah. In fact, I just used them last night for back day. Yeah. And just a phenomenal product. And it's so simple.
Yeah.
So freaking simple. Yeah. But it's like idiot proof, which is what a lot of us need. Yeah, exactly. Some of that stuff's way too intricate. It's like, we're good. Yeah.
No, that's real interesting. I've never heard of that before.
I hadn't either. Yeah. I hadn't either. Yeah. And one day on Facebook, I said, hey, do you remember me? I was that little dude over. And, oh, yeah. So we started chatting, and about a half hour later, just pretty down-to-earth guy. And we still keep in touch, and he's still a good dude.
Yeah, there's some interesting cats out there. There's some people that are the real deal out there. That's for sure.
You said you did a interview with Lee Priest. Yeah, that's one I'd like to do.
Yeah, that guy, I'll tell you what, he's another. He talks very straight, whether you like it.
Yeah, there's no political correctness there.
There's no gray area with him. You know exactly what's on his mind. I almost had him on one of my shows. It's just a scheduling issue, but I reached out to him, and he, I don't know. Sometimes it takes a while to get some of these guys on the show, especially when they live in Australia, the time difference, But yeah,
if you do, contact me. I'll be the third cog, just sitting here doing this.
He was the only one of the 5 that didn't have his voice digitized. He said, I don't give a damn. Yeah, everybody else, they wanted their face or their voice digitized because they didn't want people to know, it was them talking. But Lee Priest, care.
Be not
Oh, he
afraid.
was just right out there, right in front, like it or not. Yeah, he's
Yep.
still that way. I've seen a couple of his podcasts, and he's still that way.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's definitely. If you want to know where you stand with that gentleman,
Oh yeah,
just ask. He'll
yeah.
tell you.
So let's talk about your. I know you competed in the men's nationals. Was that in Pittsburgh?
A couple years ago it was. This year it was held in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I competed in that the one in Pittsburgh at the age of 56. The old
Did
timers. Yeah.
I just did it this year at the age of 55.
It was a great event. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
it was a 2-day event. There were so many athletes there, both men and women. It took 2 days to do that one.
This one it's up to 4 days.
4 days? Wow.
There was 20
competing?
there was 2,200 athletes.
Holy
The
smokes.
first time I did it in 2018, and then I did it this year, and there was, even with the COVID, there were still 1,700.
Unbelievable.
And
Who's the guy that puts it on? I forgot his name.
Udis, Gary,
Yes.
Gary.
Yeah. That guy.
And the guy, oh man, I've been to small shows that have drug on. My wife and I, we'll sponsor shows, and we'll put up booze, and we'll do whatever,
Yeah.
And we've literally packed up and went home. I mean, because at 2:00 in the morning,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
still doing,
Some of them are just awful.
and these are tiny shows.
Yeah.
And these people could learn a little from Gary how to put on a
that guy.
He
He does it right.
and all of his people. He flew them all in,
Yeah.
and he put them up at the hotel down there in Florida, and they all know their jobs, and he delegates, so he's not a lunatic, running around trying to put his finger in all the dikes, and
he had it together. That's for sure.
He does a great job. Great show.
Yeah. So what got you into? How long have you been bodybuilding, and what decided you to go into the sport of bodybuilding? Let's take a quick pause to tell you about something you are definitely going to want.
Do you want a bone-crushing grip? Good, because you're gonna get one with the amazing new TRS gripper. It's a progressive grip builder with longer handles and a special ergonomic design that's like a dozen hand grippers in one. Start off easy and work your way up to quickly build your grip strength from wet noodle to pulverizing. The package includes a video from the world-famous strength coach, Dr. Russ Horine, the man who worked with Leo Costa to help bring you big beyond belief in the Bulgarian Power Burst. Dr. Horine shows you a simple and easy to follow workout plan that takes just minutes a day right from in front of your TV set if you want. So click on the link below and let's get started building you a stronger, firmer, bone-crushing grip.
In 1985, 84, 85, I'd played around a little bit in Berlin. We had a gym there, being in the military, I had a little extra time, and that's when I met, of course, Vince Taylor. But I met a guy by the name of Ron Emmons. Ron Emmons was he was a stud too. I mean, him and Vince would get together, and they're like brothers, twin towers. I mean, they were just phenomenal. And he was an MP with us. And so I just saw this guy. I knew. At that time, I was about 132 pounds when I went into the military. I was very small, and breaking up bar fights at 132 pounds, I'm going to tell you, is not a good idea. But when we're young and we're stupid. So by the time I got out, I was probably 145, 150, and just kept building. I did my first show in 1987. The Great Plains Open. I don't know if you remember Penny Price. She was a guest poser.
Names rings a bell.
Yeah, she was she's not quite at the level of Corey and the crew, but she was up there. She was more of a Gladys Portuguese type figure. Yeah. Boy, we're bringing up old names, aren't we? Holy smokes.
Yeah. I love it.
Flashbacks.
Yeah.
And I competed at 150 pounds and took second, and then I competed in 88, and then in 89, I did a stage show, and I was done. 1989 to 2015, I done. The only thing I lifted for was just for my job.
Yeah.
You know, being in shape and you know, dealing with all the stressors and all that we deal with. You know, you go to a suicide and you're like, it kind of messes you up.
Yeah.
Go to the gym. You know, get
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff out.
Cleans it
Stay
out.
healthy.
Yeah.
And so at 2015, I decided I was going to do another show, and then I did one in 2018. Did 2 of them in 2008. I had to get a qualifier out of Fargo. Tom Kemper does the Fargo stuff. He's phenomenal. And then I did Udit's show up in National. I took 4th first year up in Nationals, and then ended up in Classic, and then took 3rd this last year. So
Are you you think you'll compete some more? Done. Been there, did that.
It's, man, you know, I love the lifting part.
Yeah.
I love the helping people out part. I love being in the sport. But to be honest with you, Boyd, it just wreaks havoc on the body, man.
Yeah, it does, and it's all consuming. You know, it's.
Ugh.
I competed for like 15 years. I only did two shows. Some of these people that I've been interviewing from the IMBPA, the national organization, God, some of these people, they compete like 6, 7, 8 times a year. I'm thinking, what?
Boy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Kidding me?
It's crazy. I get these guys coming up and they want to put weight on, and they go, yeah, I want to do 2 more shows next year, but I said, you ain't gonna put weight on.
Yeah.
You know, you got to take 3-4 years off, man, and just start really putting some weight on, especially these people that are in these natural shows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're going to stay natural, I mean, and truly stay natural, I mean, no TRT, no SARMs, no nothing.
Exactly.
You ain't getting any bulking going on in 6 months.
Yeah,
you know,
crazy. They just, well, I said good for you, I guess. But for me, to do 2 a year, I did them both early on too. I mean, I usually did one just after. I was always dieting during the holidays. Always dieting during the holidays.
Yep.
And then I'd do another one a few months later, and that was it. I was done. And then I'd work on, putting more quality and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, so you're done with that then. I understand that too. I mean, I've done it. Listen, I live more of a bodybuilding lifestyle now. I do it for, I'm kind of, I'll tell you what Platt's always, his answer is, I'm just an old guy having fun in the gym, but it's actually a little bit more than that. Gerald, it's just that I don't want to go back to that mindset of a bodybuilder that wants to get on stage again. Because like you said, it's not good for my body. I had a health scare 9 years ago. I don't know if you know this, but I had 3 strokes in 3 weeks that paralyzed me. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is actually after I did that show in Pittsburgh at the age of 56. I wanted to go back again because I was going to go win it, because I was really close the first time. I was going to go win it before I stopped. But that happened to me. And you know what? That reset my, kind of my priorities. And I thought to myself at that point, I said, what I'm going to do now, I've torn my body up, and I don't regret it because it was something I wanted to do.
Absolutely.
I tore it up. It's shutting me down now. Now what I want to do is pay it back for what it did for me. I want to make it as healthy as I possibly can. So I'm still going at it. I'm 227 pounds. I'm in pretty darn good shape.
Yeah.
But it's you understand what I'm talking about. It's a different distinction than having that bodybuilder's mindset, to
Absolutely.
compete, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that anymore. When
you start paying it forward, it's I don't know, it just feels different. It feels better. It's almost like, like I said today, there's a young kid. He's just a great kid. He just puts way too much time in at the gym, and he was doing flies, and at the end of his flies, he was coming in, he was bending his arms down. I'm like, ooh, just wait, let's get you set up. Let's drop your weight. And by the time he was done, he was doing, 10 pounds less.
But he was doing it right.
But he was doing it right. And so there's been a few, good pieces like that. And of course, I had another guy in asking about TRT and those issues, and, 50 years old. And he says, what can I do? I'm just losing all my mass, and I can't put on any more weight. And I'm feeling this and that. And the wife's suffering too because of it and all of this. And I'm just like, you know what, let's get you hooked up and get some blood draws and get your hormones checked out, because if you're going to truly live, I think, a good productive lifestyle, and whether you're competing or just being a healthy citizen, it is what it is. Your hormones better be rolling.
Oh yeah, that's for sure, because you're fighting uphill the whole way. If you don't have things in line like that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And one of the questions, I love this being in this industry. You know, when I came from I'm Portuguese. Are you Italian by chance, Maragos?
Greek.
Oh, Greek. Good old Greek boy. I'm Portuguese. And, you know, I was raised on a dairy. And I left the dairy. In my family, I was supposed to be the next generation to be running that dairy. You know, that's just the way it is in my culture back then. And of course, I was the black sheep of the family. I said, no, it's not in my blood. You know, I didn't look forward to going to work. It was just a job. And I was unhappy because I was an athlete at heart. I wanted to be a pro athlete, didn't work out. I promised myself when I was on that dairy, I said, if I ever get a chance to do something to where I have that passion, that buzz in the belly, I'm going to jump. I'm not going to question it. I'll figure it out. And I did. I became a personal trainer, which in those days, there wasn't one personal trainer within 50 to 60 miles. I mean, you could find a trainer in LA for sure, San Francisco, maybe Fresno. But my town, it was like people thought I was an aerobics instructor. They didn't even know what a personal trainer was. But let me tell you something. I made it my life, Gerald. And you know something? When you have that kind of passion, you figure it out. Somehow, some way. The obstacles look different when you have passion for what you do. Would you agree with that?
200%. And if you don't, you're not doing your clients justification.
And it's a lot.
I know probably, 500-600 trainers now at least. And there's so many little, you know, numbers and letters and, you know, and I don't know. We are not going to get
right
because I always get dogged when I say about trainers.
Story.
I'm like, you know, if you're going to train someone in bodybuilding, you better look like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I understand.
You know?
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, I think most of these guys are fakers out there anyway. So
and well, you know, they got their little, you know, thing they got on the computer, and they, you know, okay, I answered this question right. Now,
I call them social media stars. And so I understand where you go with that. You know, but the thing is, it changed my life forever. I live my dream job every single day. Beautiful. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Yep.
I've been able to travel the world and do seminars, and I still, to this day, I'm 65 years old, and I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't have to, because I want to get down to my gym and do my workout, and I love every minute of it. It's a love-hate relationship, and you know what I'm talking about, but I love it more than I hate it at the end of the day.
Sure.
And I'm the luckiest guy, and I think that I feel that same thing with you. You're doing something that you really love. Absolutely. And I asked myself, how can I be relative now in this industry? Because I don't want to go away yet. Right. And this is why I started doing podcasts, because I get to talk to people like yourself, all walks of life. I tie it into, at some point in the podcast, we're talking about exercise or nutrition, something, because it's tied into your life at some point. And this is how I say relative. I do podcasts. I have a studio still, and I'm having a ball, and I'm enjoying it more now than I did when I was competing, to be quite honest with you. It's a different dynamic, as you mentioned, and I see it differently now, and I'm very lucky that I'm still able to do this.
Well, I think the nicest part too, though, is the whole media piece, the way it's changed. I mean, you know, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, when we started this gig, you know, how are you going to get out unless you're Paul Harvey on the radio?
Right.
You know, if you're one of those lucky, you know, now we're able to pass on knowledge and ideas and sometimes just unfounded opinions, you know, based on what we feel and think.
Exactly.
But a lot of those feelings, you know, they came from decades and decades of trial and error and seeing people fail and us fail, and you know, this is what we've seen has to go on, and if we can help those 2 or 3 people listening, that the light bulb comes on and go,
I love
hey,
it.
I love it. Perfect. I mean,
I love it.
You know, my wife's sitting over here. She has to work from home now, and through all this COVID thing, and they always used to joke because, you know, this is a whole new house for us, a whole new kitchen. In my old kitchen, we'd have people just surrounded there, and just everybody asking questions, and then I'd get the ribs off the grill, and we'd all be sitting around eating, and people come over, and brothers and sisters that I've made, they'll pop in and stay for the weekend. You know, I mean, I got people that just fly in and say, hey, you know, I'm going to stay. In fact, you know, it is what it is, you know.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's phenomenal to help people.
Before we wrap this thing up, I wanted to ask you one question. You have on your bio, I believe you said you're an actor. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, I think we're all actors on the stage, but tell me about your acting career. I want to know about that.
I had a small bit part in Getting Grace. That was filmed out in Pittsburgh area. It was actually more Bethlehem, Allentown area. And that had got released. Everything's good. Unfortunately, most of my part got edited out. I mean, you can still see a little, but and then I was called upon to do a set with Prepper's Grove, and it's a thrasher type movie.
Yeah.
And that one I had a pretty decent role in. I had about 8 pages of dialogue and a pretty decent set. So it didn't get released yet. I mean, of course, there's always finance issues.
Of course.
But it's in the can.
Process, that's for sure.
But it's in the can, so hopefully that'll be done. And then, of course, I've been in a couple magazines. I did Gym Owners Monthly. It was a cover, and then wrote an article. And then I've done Milano 411. They did a big spread, like about 15 pages for me there. And
beautiful.
And then as you know, people do videos all the time, and I just had one that was sent to me. It was like the top 10 fit grandpas, which, okay, you know what? It is better than, at least your notoriety is for something other than,
better than a stick in the eye, as they say.
Absolutely. A poking eye with a sharp stick. Yeah, exactly right. So
I actually had a chance to do an audition. Charlie, what was the name of that movie with Whitney Houston? I keep forgetting about it. With Kevin Costner? Bodyguard. So I was
great movie.
I trained Kevin during those days, and I was big. And he goes, "Hey, you want to do this part?" Frank was the guy that I was doing the audition for. He was a bodyguard for Whitney Houston. Oh my God! And so I only had like 20 words, Gerald, and I'm like, I had 2.5 hours to study. My wife and I were going down. I was repeating it over and over again. Yep, I got in there, and there's all kinds of people in there, and I got in this little room, and here comes the director or whoever. You got your lines? Yeah. And they came in and said, action. And I just froze up, man. I just said, oh my God. Only about maybe not even 20 words. I knew right there. I called Kevin. I said, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm never doing this again. It's harder than it looks. Even though you're reading lines, to make it authentic, it's harder than it looks, like everything else is, right?
I had 8 pages. It was the largest dialogue I'd had. And multiple scenes, and then my wife and I, we went over lines. It was a constant thing. And in fact, one of the benefits of moving here is a good friend of mine, Paul Soreco. He's they call him Poseidon. If you meet him, he's got a big long gray hair, beard, and he's done a lot of. And his wife and him, he was in Prepper's Grove with me. That's how I met him.
Oh, okay.
His wife actually helped us buy our house here, and coming up, she's going to take over the role of manager for me and put me into some gigs as well.
Nice.
And keep me busy. So hopefully, God willing, and the creek don't rise. You'll see me on some big screen somewhere with a smile on.
When that happens, why don't you just reach out to me if you don't mind? Seriously.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll figure something out, or I'll come out to Cali and we can have a workout.
There you go. Anytime you're over, you're free to come in. Listen, before we wrap up, is there anything that I know with your supplement line, you want to let our audience know where they can buy your supplements or contact you for consultation?
Sure.
Go for
it. Certainly. I have a website. It's www.magnum-source.com. And I offer the entire line, and all my contact information is on there. So if people have any kind of inquiries, if they need, as you know, we don't know everything, but we know someone who does.
Right.
And I have a huge referral business. I've got all kinds of nutritionists and trainers and coaches, everything and anything people needs.
Nice.
And you know what? We do it right. None of that.
I can tell you do. It's obvious. Talking to you, you're a legit guy. And
if we don't want to do it, if we don't want to do the best, stay home.
exactly, totally agree with you. Listen, you are an awesome guest, and I'm really glad that you came on the show. If there's ever a time that you'd like to come on and talk about something new or different, please reach out. I mean, it'd be great. I like having guests like you. It's refreshing. So I sincerely mean that.
Appreciate it. And if you get Lee on again,
Yeah,
he heads up. I'm going to be sitting in the back corner of your studio listening to him.
Yeah. Right now, I've got 3 guys that I'm trying to get on. I will eventually. And then one guy I trained with, but he's a real difficult guy to deal with, Tom Platts.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And I'm seeing if I can get him back on, or not back on. I'd like him to come on the show. Robbie Robinson.
There you go.
Yeah, I almost had him on a couple weeks ago. And then I don't know what my third one is, but yeah, there's 2 or 3 people I still want to get on. But what's that? And Stallone, yeah, Frank.
Oh
Stallone.
that would be both sides. Yeah, in fact, I wouldn't mind being on one of those series that he's on right now. You know,
yeah,
at
good.
5'8", 220 pounds, I think I could hold my own.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, listen, you obviously stay safe. You look good. You look great.
Thanks,
you look
brother.
healthy. So anytime you want to come back on, just give me a shout.
Appreciate it, Leo. You
All
take
right,
care
Joe.
of yourself too, young man.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Serious Growth Podcast. For more episodes like the one you just listened to, subscribe to us on your mobile podcast app and leave us a review. If you'd like to reach out, you can find us online at seriousgrowth.com. Until next time, train smart and train hard.